What's up, guys? How's it going? So it's me, Francesco. Okay, I see that we are not that much, so I will wait just a few minutes, maybe 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Of course, we will wait a little bit, all the people that are going to join us. So, of course, I see that, of course, more people are joining us. Okay, so this is the new episode of the Wine Thursday. Of course, finally we found the best time for everybody, and I'm so happy about it. We are so happy about it. And of course, today we are about to talk the proper way. I mean, we should age the wine. So we choose a title, which is "How should we age the wine?" for this wine discussion. But maybe the biggest question, most important question, it is. Of course, why should we age the wine? I wanted, of course, to talk about this topic because last time we spoke about, of course, about a very important topic, which was how should we taste wine, and we ended up talking about the tertiary notes, notes, which are the aromas that you can perceive in a wine. They are usually aromas that you develop with the time. Wait, we have a comment. Let's see. Ciao, Francesco. Happy Thursday. Ciao, Nick. I'm so glad, of course, that you are joining us again. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And of course, I hope you're doing well. Of course, I hope you're doing fine. And of course, I hope that every one of you is doing pretty good. So, of course, last time, as I was saying, we ended up talking about the tertiary notes, which are the aroma that you can perceive in a wine. They are usually developed through the courses of the years, through the courses of the aging. So, of course, a quick reminder for everybody. When we speak about the aroma that we can perceive in a wine, we have the primary notes, which are the notes that belong to the variety of grapes that, of course, we use to produce that wine. Then we have the secondary notes, which are the aroma that belong to the fermentation and vinification process. Usually the primary notes are more like fruity aromas. The secondary notes are more like floral aromas or minerality, for example, when we talk about Sangiovese. And then we have the tertiary notes, which are more like spices notes, or sometimes more like vanilla when it comes, of course, about the aging in barrique. And all of these aromas are aromas that you develop through the course of the years. So it's not something that you have immediately. So I thought, of course, it was a good idea to speak about the wine aging. And of course, many people are very confused about this topic, and I was confused, of course, when I started my journey in the world of wine. Many people think that I mean, all the wine can age, but actually the truth that only the good wine can age. And there's, of course, a reason. And of course, good wine has usually more longevity. And of course, they can protect themselves, let's say, and this way from the time that is passing, of course. And of course, we'll treat all these different arguments. Of course, again, thank you everybody, of course, for joining in this wine discussion today. And I have, of course, again, my beautiful Chardonnay from Fattoria di Montemaggio. I'm just like drinking only this kind of wine lately. I don't know why. I'm very much into the white wine lately. So I will have a toast to all of you. And again, thank you. Okay, let's start with today's topic. I told you the biggest question it is, why should I age my wine? Why should we age the wine? And of course, this is a question that all of the producers ask themselves, of course, at a certain point, because they want to figure out how much time they, of course, need to give to the wine to be ready. And this is actually the answer to the question. Of course, to that question, because I want to age the wine to to the wine the time to be more complex and more mature. So when I have a younger wine, it tends to be very bold and aggressive. It tends to be very chaotic in terms of aromas and so on. So when you start the aging process, you give the wine the possibility to get more complexity and to be more, of course, well structured, right? So we should age our wines only because we want to give to the wine the chance to become more complex. Here in Montemaggio, we really believe in this thing, because of course we have no rush at all. I mean, if you think that our Chianti Classico standard, so our Sangiovese, the Chianti Classico, we will of course put it on the market after 6 years, 7 years sometimes. So we take our time, of course, we give to that kind of wine the right amount of time to become complex enough and very well mature. Of course, when it comes about other kind of wine, for example, maybe wine that does not have that kind of longevity, maybe, of course, you find in Chianti Classico area different producers that want, of course, to put on the market the wine after 1 or 2 years, because, of course, they think that their wine does not have the right kind of longevity, and so they think, of course, it's better to of course put on the market that wine a little bit younger. And of course, those kind of wine, they will be, of course, more fruity, more aggressive, more probably also a bit bolder. And this is not, of course, a bad thing. Many of us like very young wine. Sometimes I really also enjoy good young Sangiovese. Maybe if I'm having, for example, very light kind of lunch, maybe I want a younger wine with, of course, much more chaotic structure and a bit more aggressiveness. No, and it's perfectly fine. But of course, when you want to achieve the right kind of maturity in a wine, you should give the wine the time to of course, to evolve and to, of course, to develop itself. And that's, of course, something that it's so short. So now, of course, that we answer to the most important question, which is, again, why should I age my wine? We can answer the other question, which is the title of today's topic, which is, how should I age the wine? So first of all, after the fermentation and vinification process, we have what we call, of course, the aging process. So when of course we talk about right now about the younger wine, usually with the younger wine, you tend to do just few months of aging, like probably 3, 4, 5, 6 months of aging, and maybe in, for example, cement, so concrete, or stainless steel, in order to don't have that much of like interaction even with the oxygen. For example, with the stainless steel, the wine is completely safe from the oxygen. You don't have interaction. You don't have oxygenation passage inside the wine. Oh, we have another comment. Ciao from the English Riviera. Ciao. Thank you so much for joining us, Ekaterina. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So I was saying that, for example, in stainless steel, you don't have interaction with the wine, so you don't have oxygenation passage. And of course, the wine will have no oxidation process, no oxygenation process. And of course, there will be no interaction. And of course, the wine will, let's say, stay a little bit protected from this kind of process, which is the oxidation, which is a natural process that happens when you have the wine in contact with the oxygen. And of course, when you are aging for let's say from 3 to 6 months of wine, of course, you probably prefer to use, again, stainless steel or concrete to protect a little bit the wine from the oxygen. Of course, concrete gives to us the possibility to have a little bit of oxygenation, that's true, but not as much as the wood, for example. Some other producer that maybe do 1 or 2 years of aging, they sometimes prefer barrique. I know many producers that do wine aging for 1 or 2 years in a barrique. This will give to you certain kind of oaky taste, like vanilla sometimes as well. And this is also good for a very short amount of time. Also barrique, it's quite small. It's a quite small barrel, right? Barrique or tonneau. And of course, in this kind of specific case, you have more interaction between the wood and the wine inside. And of course, there will be more, let's say, release of certain kind of substances, like even like tannic substances into the wine. And of course, this is something that it's perfect for certain kind of wine. And also if you want to do, of course, just a little bit of aging, like 1 or 2 years. When, of course, you want to age for much more time, of course, I think that's my personal advice, my personal opinion. The best tool is the bigger barrel. For example, the bigger barrel, it's what we use for the Reserva aging. Usually our Reserva spent, for example, 4 years roughly in the wood. And of course, we prefer to use bigger barrel. In a bigger barrel, you don't have that much of contact with the, of course, wood and the wine. And of course, you develop a much more elegant and very fine kind of wine, and you don't develop that kind of oaky taste that you develop with the barrique. So this is the main difference if you want to compare barrique or tonneau with the bigger barrel. And again, why we choose, for example, for Reserva, but even for Chianti Classico standard to age the wine for a longer time? Well, it's very simple. We want to give to those kind of wines more time to develop their structure, to develop themselves. And of course, the wine will achieve a certain kind of complexity at a certain point. And of course, it will be perfect to drink. And you just want to wait until that point for a certain kind of wine. Again, of course, after the aging in the wood, it can be, again, as I told you, both barrique, tonneau, or the bigger barrel. Then, of course, we age for other time the wine in the barrel. This is what we call in Italian affinamento, affinamento in bottiglia, so aging in the barrel. And this is a very important moment for the wine, because in that kind of specific moment of the aging process, of the maturation process, the wine will stabilize himself a little bit more, right? And for example, the Quintessenza, which is one of the wines we produce here in Montemaggio, right now we have on the market a 2013, and it's a 7 years old wine, almost 8. And that kind of wine spent a very good amount of time into the bottle. And I think, of course, that wine stabilized itself perfectly right now. And you have that beautiful complexity, that beautiful, elegant kind of structure. And of course, the bouquet, it's so rich. And again, it's so elegant. And the conversation with that kind of wine, it's so easy. You can perceive every different layers of aroma from that wine perfectly. It's so easy. So even the time in the bottle, it's so important. Of course, we think that usually when we buy a wine, of course, when we find the wine in the enoteca, in the wine bar, or when we buy it online, we think that, of course, it's a perfect moment to drink that kind of wine. And for the most part, it's true. But sometimes when we are, of course, talking about certain kind of specific wine that have a much more, of course, important longevity, you can also age the wine by yourself in your house. So right now we published on YouTube yesterday a video of the cantinetta, of the cellar, of the private cellar that we have here in the Montemaggio house. If you want, of course, I really recommend you to watching it, because of course we will, of course, treat in details of the different important thing when it comes about the wine aging in the bottle in your personal private cellar. But of course, I will try also to cover all of these different aspects right now and during this live. We have one more comment. Sorry, Nick says we have a bottle of wine that we are waiting to drink in 2 years. Time for our 5th year anniversary. So I think this is the perfect thing to do. Of course, maybe you go somewhere, you find a bottle of wine that you love, and maybe I don't know, you buy 2, 3, 4 bottles of that wine. You drink a couple of bottles, and then the other 2 you save them. You put them in your personal cellar, and you wait. Maybe in this case, you're waiting for a very special occasion. So you can wait for a special occasion, or only for your personal curiosity to see how the wine will evolve in your personal cellar. We have another comment, Aditya. Hi, I'm from Indonesia. I'm really happy, of course, that you're joining us, Aditya. I'm really, really happy. I hope, of course, you're doing well. And of course, I hope everything is fine for you. So I was saying that, of course, you can wait a little bit more and you can age the wine in your personal cellar. Again, as Nick says, for a special occasion, but also for your personal curiosity to see how that wine will evolve. So, of course, what kind of things are important when it comes about wine aging in your personal private cellar? Well, not many people has a personal private cantinetta in their house. Many of us can easily age the wine in their basement, for example. The only important thing we should respect, it is that we need to keep the temperature a little bit constant. So usually we want to respect the same temperature of the cellar, so that you can find the cellar that you can find in a winery, for example, which is around 14-16 degrees Celsius. I know this sounds crazy, of course. Many of you always told me, how can I preserve that kind of temperature in my basement? Well, of course, if it's, for example, 18 degrees, 20 degrees, it's not a problem. But in general, you should respect that range of temperature. Let's say from 14 to at maximum 18-20, in order to be able to not ruin the wine. Also, another important thing is the humidity. Humidity should be around 60-70%. And another thing that is so important is to keep the bottle horizontal in order to keep the cork always wet. This is done in order to prevent fungus, mushroom on the cork, but also oxidation in the wine. Right? Sometimes, of course, we can find a lot of problematic that are caused by the, too much oxygen that is passing inside the bottle. And of course, in this way, we are also able to prevent a little bit this thing. So you can see that if you follow just this very simple rules, you can easily age the wine at your own place in a very easy way. So again, as I told you, it's so important. Sometimes we find wine that are, of course, very good quality. We know that they are an amazing quality, but we think that they can give to us much more complexity and much more, of course, maturity in a few years. And so, of course, in that specific case, we want to age a little bit longer the wine. I always use as an example also the Chianti Classico we have here at the Fattoria di Montemaggio. Our Chianti Classico, it's aged usually 2 years in the wood and then 4 years in the bottle. And again, the aging in the bottle is so important for the stabilization of the wine. So you can try. Maybe again, you find a wine that has the right characteristic for aging, and you just try to aging that kind of wine at your own place, in your own personal cellar or in your basement if you don't have it. Again, the most important thing is that it is the temperature, and of course to keep the bottle horizontal. Another thing that I really recommend you is to do not have natural lights in the place where you're, of course, storing the wine, because of course the wine, of course, can be, it can be a little bit problematic when you have too much light. Maybe, of course, the light will warm it up a little bit, the cantinetta or the basement, and of course you will have a higher temperature, and then of course this can cause problem to your wine that it's aging. So again, This is also personal. I know that I always repeat this thing every time in every wine discussion, so I don't want to sound boring, but this is also personal preference. Many people prefer younger wine, some other people prefer older wine, and this is something that is personal. But again, if you find that you like a wine and you think that it has the right characteristic to be aged, and you want, of course, to see how it will go, just try it. Maybe you will discover that you like also something a little bit more older. So now, of course, the question, I think the other question that is very important is how can I know if I will be able to age a wine for a longer time? Well, this is something that it's sometimes hard to say, but we can just ask to the producer. Right now we are in 2021. It's so easy to be in contact with the wineries. You send an email and you ask, so what do you think about your wine? What kind of process you used to produce it? What kind of aging your wine did? And of course, what do you think about the best time to drink that wine? And maybe the producer will tell you this is the best time, and of course you will consume it immediately. But if the producer will tell you, well, maybe this wine can be aged for a little bit longer, well, of course you can try and you can be sure about it. So another thing I want to tell you about the of course aging in the wine, it is something that for me it's so important. Many people think that a wine, it's smoother when it's younger. Actually, it's not. I was saying, I mean, since the start of this wine conversation, of this wine discussion, that wine when it's younger, it's very aggressive, it's very bold, it's very fruity. And so maybe people exchange that fruitiness for a smoothness. But actually, if you think about it, you perceive more the alcohol and more the aggressiveness in a younger wine. When a wine is getting older and older, you achieve a much more smoothness, a much more complexity, and a wine will be more fun. It will be more pleasant on your palate, and of course, it will be more rich. Another thing that it will change with the aging, it will be the persistency. As I told you last time, the persistency is the perception you have in your mouth after that you drank the wine. With older wine, it tends to be longer. You have more persistency, and it's more pleasant. With younger wine, it's more intense. It's like a very short kind of perception, but it's very aggressive, and it disappears almost immediately. So again, this is so important. So I told you before that we can understand also if a wine can be aged for a longer time by the tannino. So wine that has a little bit more tannino can be aged for a longer time. This is the reason why, for example, white wine cannot be aged in general, at least for a longer time. It's less resistant to the aging process. So usually, of course, red wine is what we want to age for a longer time, and of course, you have tannino, especially in the wine that has the right amount of tannino. They can really age for a longer time easily. So you can also know this if a wine can be aged for a longer time by the tannin, of course. This is something so easy to do because, I mean, we perceive tannins from the astringency, for example. And so if we think that that kind of wine has a certain kind of characteristic, well, we can easily age the wine, again, as I told you, even in our personal cellar. I really recommend you also to experiment the wine, or at least that's what I do. For example, I buy two bottles of wine. I drink wine immediately, especially with a fruit that I really like, and then I wait for a longer time, and then in 1 or 2 years I will drink the other bottle of wine, and I will match it with the same kind of dish, and I will compare the difference. I sometimes take notes about it, so you can also do this experiment, and maybe you can do this with your friends. I always suggest you to share this with your friends, and of course to understand together the differences. You can compare the younger version with the older version, and you can organize this kind of very funny wine dinner where you can play a little bit this game. So for of course today I think it's everything from me. Of course, this was a little bit shorter because of course the topic Of course, it was a little bit less vast compared to the other arguments we did last time. Of course, if you have any kind of question, just of course you can ask to us. You can make a comment, or you can leave a comment in the replay that we will post into the next week on the social media. And of course, we will of course treat the arguments that you are suggesting in the next Wine Thursday live stream of Montemaggio. So of course, I hope that you enjoy this topic, and again, I hope to have you with me in the next live session. Thank you so much for joining us again. Of course, buona serata, and I want also to remind to all of you that we have a group which is called Friends of Montemaggio. You can join the group, and we will publish in this group a lot of exclusive content. I'm Italian, sometimes certain kind of words are quite difficult. Exclusive content that of course we don't publish on the normal Facebook page or Instagram and so on. So of course, I hope to see you also there. Thank you so much. See you next time. Ciao.